Hello everybody, Todd here, All Things Archery and Shooting. I got another review for you. This is another classic bow, compound bow review I'm going to do. This one's going to be on the Bear First Strike compound bow. Let's take a look and see what we got. As you can see, the way I got the box, it came in pretty beat up, damaged on the corner and stuff, and it's partly open on the front here. So I haven't taken it out of the box yet, so let's see what it looks like. Okay, like I said, I'm kind of a little upset the way the box came in, got beat up, and I picked this up on eBay for like 49 bucks. So it's not an expensive buy, but I wish they'd have packaged it better. But let's take a look and see what it looks like inside. Oh, nothing else in the box. Well, they wrapped it up kind of decent. They got. Okay, let's take a look at this now. I got it. I think I wrapped it in newspaper. Alright, it'll work. Alright, there we go. Okay. Well, there we go. Okay, let's get this all cleaned up. Alright, that's all done. Let's take a look at it. Alright. Now this is the Bear First Strike, okay? Quick history of this bow. This bow first came out in 1992. It was one of Bear's first carbon limb bows. This bow is set at 30 inches with a peak draw weight of 80 pounds. So it's got quite a large draw weight on it. So, brief history on this bow. This is the Bear First Strike. It came out in 1992. This was one of Fred Bear's first carbon limb designs, and actually Tom Jennings had a little bit of design say into this as well too. That's when Fred Bear and Tom Jennings were partnered together. Limb tip to limb tip, it's 42 inches. So it was a compact bow. It was a real fast bow at the time. I did some research on the IBO rating on this bow. I want to say it was 290 feet per second, which for 1992 was pretty darn fast. But some people have gotten these bows up over 300 feet a second with light, especially when they started putting overdraws back on them in the day. Back in 1992, I actually worked for Fred Bear Archery in Gainesville. I was in charge of their pro shop and their range. And I got one of these bows right off the assembly line before they even hit the market. Mine was a pre-production release model. I wish I'd have never sold. I love that bow. Still trying to find that bow, but I got that bow in early 1992. This bow came out mid-1992, late 1992 for the 1993 model year. The original First Strike prototype I had didn't have these flared limbs here, like this one has. They were straight limbs. Alright? There's also a gray camel, so there's dark camo here. Okay, and I said, Frank Scott was in charge of Bear Archery at that time, and he had got the bow for me because I worked at the pro shop there, and he asked me if I'd be interested in testing out one of their new pre-release First Strike bows. It was one of their new first carbon bows. And I said, sure, why not? So that's why I got that bow. And I had that bow for 20 plus years or so, and between moving and moving around different states, being in the military overseas all the time, the bow kind of got lost in transition. I wish I never got rid of that bow. I want to say that I gave that bow away to a niece or nephew of mine, but I can't quite remember. I've given so many bows away in my past, but I did like that bow. It was a great bow. I loved shooting that bow. It was quite fast. I had mine set up with the overdraw on it, which we're not going to set that one up this way because overdraws are inherently unsafe, so let's not do that anymore. But I am going to set this bow as close to 1992 specs as possible, like I do with my old whitetail hunter bow. We're going to get a standard rest available at the time. We're also going to get the basic sights available at the time, and we're going to try to keep it as period correct as we can. Now let's talk some more things to tell you about this bow. This bow was one of the first bows, like I said, that had carbon limbs and had what they call the eccentric cams to them, which are what these are here. They're not quite a full cam, they're like a round wheel, half oblong cam. They're called eccentric cam. And the way you adjust the draw length is with this string right here. You put it in a row press, and you've got 3 settings here. The middle setting is 30 inches where it's set now. This setting will be 29, and the long setting will be 31 inches. This bow is set for 80 pounds. We'll check the weight on in a minute, and this is where you adjusted the weight at on these limbs right here. Looks like they're backed out quite a bit. And these bows were unique, like the early 1992 bear bows. If you want to get a stronger bow, as long as they were carbon limbs, you can go from a 40-pound bow to an 80-pound bow. And all you didn't change your limb, you changed this to like a ball bearing cup in here. You would change that ball bearing cup out to a larger ball bearing cup. And the bigger the ball bearing cup, the more power the limbs had. This one has the biggest ball bearing cups because it comes factory stamped from the factory as 80 inches, 80 pounds I mean. Let me show you that real quick. Okay, get a close look at this bow. We'll start from down here. Here's your, if you can see that. There you go, see? Okay, let's look at the eccentric cam. See, it's a round wheel on this side, but you flip it over, and it's got an oblong eccentric cam on that side. So this bow had us at a 60% let off, 65% let off actually. These are your draw wheels here, so you can fine tune your draw length if you wanted to. This is not a factory roller, this is something put on aftermarket, but that is the factory string guide though, or cable guide. I'll find a factory roller for this. This had a plastic attachable grip. Later on they offered wood grips for these. They just pop right off, you pop them back on. Someone's put felt on this for hunting, but it's about wore out, so we'll remove this felt. It's all dry rotted. So we're going to remove this felt and clean it up and get it back to where it needs to be at. It has a very large sight window too. This is how you adjusted it with this Allen key. You can see this one's popped out a little bit. So they got this one backed out. This is what I'm talking about. This is the production model. The pre-production model didn't have these flared limbs to it. See, these limbs are flared. One I had were straight limbs. They weren't flared like this. They also made an XLR version, which is extra long bow version. Instead of being a 41, I believe it was 44 or 45 inches for really long draws over 31 inches. All right, back to this other. Here's your other round wheel. It's a round wheel on the back, eccentric on the other side. Uses cables, steel cables. And this is a standard Dacron string. Alright, the string's in good shape, looks like it. There's no fraying on it, so we'll have to change the string out, which is nice. Because in order to change these strings out, Bear got away from the quick string change loops they had here, the little teardrops used to have, and now it wraps around the whole wheel. So you got to put this in a bow press to change it out, and it's really not that fun to do. Someone actually added a little hunting peep sight, so they drill that thing out really large. Alright, served it in. These old rubber bumpers here, which are actually still pretty good, they're soft. They use these, they put your knocks in there, and they run your before loops. You attach your release right to this underneath that knock and pop it so it wouldn't pinch your knock. Bow is quite heavy. It weighs almost 4 pounds, like 3 pounds, I think 11 ounces, the bow itself. So it's a quite heavy bow. Once you got all the goodies on, the bow can weigh up to 8 or 9 pounds. So it was a heavy bow, even with thick carbon limbs on it. This is the Bear camouflage, something some people like, some people don't. I really didn't care for it. It looks too like some kid did it with a freaking, template in a spray can. But that's the way they were doing their camo for quite a few years. It does have your standard stabilizer button there, and also your ATA button here, and your plunger button. Okay, this is going to be a 3-part video. This is part 1. This is going to be the unboxing, just going over the specs and everything on the bow. In part 2, we're going to do the setup of the bow. We're going to set this bow up to like it was set up back in the early 90s. Basically the same stuff you could buy right off the Bear shelf or any bow shop shelf. They did have carbon arrows this time. They're from one of the first couple years of carbon, so I'll try to find a set of those if I can, old school carbons, like the old Beemans. So if I can, I'll use those. If not, I'll get some aluminum arrows for this. We're not going to use the overdraw because even though I had overdraw on mine for years, overdraws are not that inherently safe, and I like to try to keep it as plain as possible. All right. So let's go ahead and get the. Let me check the. I did check the weight on this bow just now, a few minutes ago, and the weight with my draw gauge. Let me show you what it says. So, anyways, you can see here that bow is pulling light. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's 68, almost 69 pounds. What it's pulling. That's because they got the bow limbs backed out on it. So we'll tighten these up, get it back down to the 80 mark, what it's supposed to be at, and we're gonna probably shoot. Like a good hunting weight arrow, and it's probably a 600-700 grain arrow, see what it shoots like, and then we'll shoot AMO arrow onto it also. Okay, let's go into a little bit of history what the AMO speed is we're talking about. Back in the day, they used to judge bows by AMO speed, not IBO like they do now. IBO came out later. I think IBO came out probably late 90s, I believe. If someone knows the answer to that, please correct me wrong, but I believe it was in the mid to late 90s that IBO rating came out. Before that, all bows are rated at AMO rating, and what AMO rating is, it's a 30-inch arrow at 9 pounds per draw weight for a bow set at 60 inches with a 30-inch draw. So since it's a 540 grain arrow from a 60-pound bow. And what they did when that is they use that to rate bows all across the board evenly for this they can compare speed. So this, so we understand, AMO is a 540 grain arrow with a 30-inch draw bow at 60 pounds. Comes out to 9 grains per pound of draw weight, okay? That's how I used to rate these bows back in the day, all right? This bow's IBO rating was actually 217 feet per second. And that's a little bit off because I honed this bow for a lot of years, the pre-production model. Mine, I was shooting at the time, I was shooting an overdraw, 27-inch arrow at about 450 grains it weighed, and that bow, my bow would shoot 260, 270 feet per second. So I think that the rating on this bow was quite low. We're actually going to try the true rating on this bow when we go out to the range. I'm going to put a 540 grain arrow in it with a 30-inch draw with it set at. I'm going to set this bow to 60 pounds, and we're going to see what it shoots. And then we're going to crank it all the way up to 80 pounds and shoot that same arrow and see what it shoots, okay? I'm going to try to find some carbon arrows for it. There were carbons available at the time this bow came out in 1993. If not, I'll get some good aluminum arrows. You know, like a 2117 or 2215, something of that nature. But I'll get an arrow for 540 grains and we'll check that. Okay. Also, I want to talk to you about this bow. This is going to be a 3-part video. I think I mentioned earlier, but it's going to be a 3-part video. This first part's going to be just unboxing the bow, talking about it, going over it. Second part of the video is going to be the actual setup of the bow. I'm going to set this bow up to vintage correct time as I possibly can. Basically, everything you get in 1992 or 1993 off the shelf at a bow store or bear archery, I'm going to try to get to put on this bow. And I've got quite a few stuff from my archery collection I've had over the years, so we'll be able to, I'm sure we'll make that. It's like them other bow. Also, I want to tell you this, if you watch all 3 parts of this bow, which all 3 parts should be in within a week, from today's the 23rd, so I'm going to try to have all 3 parts done for you by next weekend. And if you watch all 3 parts, at the very end, part 3, if you put in there your comment form, any kind of comment you want, just even a hello, and there's a comment there, and we can get 1,000 views on all 3 of my 1,000 views each in all 3 of my parts, I'm going to give this bow away to somebody after my part 3 video is released. And the giveaway will be drawn on September 30th, okay? And I'll notify you through an email, and I'll send this bow to you already fully set up with arrows, everything you need, okay, to hunt with. Alright? Alright, so that's about it for this bow I want to talk to you about. I mean, we've went over everything on this bow. Stay tuned for part 2 and part 3, where part 2 is going to be a setup. I'll give you a quick preview of part 2. Okay, quick preview of part 2. Let's set this off to the side real quick. I've rated my archery collection, and I've got an old stabilizer here we're going to use. I've got an old pin sight. This is made by Apex pin sight. This sight, I can't tell you what this sight is. I probably had this sight 20 plus years or longer. We're going to use this sight. I've got an old whisker biscuit that actually came off a bear bow years and years ago. I've had this in my tackle box for a long time in a Ziploc bag, so we're using this biscuit rest. Also got this old quickie quiver we're going to use. Had this, again, I can't tell, I've had probably this thing 20 plus years or longer. So we're gonna add a quickie quiver to it. All right. This is my old bow holder right here. So we'll put this on. And I came across this in my box. It's an old game tracker, vintage 1990s accessory kit. It's got like a little sight pin there, kisser button, some knocks, and some silencers. We'll put this on it as well. Okay, it's an old bow sling. That's, by the way, it's this old bow sling. This is paracord. I made this years and years ago out of paracord, and I cut a piece of leather to fit around it. So it's an old school, but I have this thing again. I've had this on numerous bows and I've used it. So it's an old paracord one that I made. Okay, and that's what the setup's going to be on this bow. We're going to have an old quickie quiver, an old style sight. This is one of the first fiber optic sights that came out. Had the level built into it. Again, I can't tell you how long I had this sight. I probably 20 years or better, I bet. And then we got an old stabilizer here. Got a old whiskey biscuit. We're going to put that on it. We're going to have my bow sling right here, and then we're going to put this little kit on, right? So stay tuned for part 2 of that. We'll set all this up on part 2. And then after part 2, we're going to do the range session, which will be part 3, which we'll check the velocity, we'll check the AMO rating, and then we'll crank it up and shoot it all the way full bore 80 pounds, see how it shoots. And I think that that's pretty much it. So that's what's going to happen then over the next week or so. So I'll upload this video. Part 1 will be uploaded today. Today's the 23rd. Look for it tomorrow. And then I'll upload the following video the following day, and then the last video the day after that. And watch all 3 videos, and on September 30th we'll do a drawing, and I'll give this bow away to somebody. Alright. Well, if you like this video, if you do, please click that like button and let me know if you want me to do some more videos like this. I got a lot more vintage bows I can probably do. If you got a vintage bow you want me to see, just leave me a note down. If I can get it, I'll try to do a review on it. It could be compound or recurve longbow, I don't care. I just love shooting old bows and stuff. Also, I want to thank everybody for the support. I think I've reached over 2,000 subscribers now, and it's moving quite quickly. And I want to thank everybody. Also, check out my Patreon channel. There'll be some more information on this bow, on this First Strike bow on my Patreon channel as well. Stuff you won't be able to find on a regular YouTube channel. Now, that Patreon channel is a paid channel, but it's not that expensive. But there's a lot of cool features on that that you can't get on my regular YouTube channel. So be sure to click over there and check it out. If you like this video, click that like button, and also click that bell next to it so I can notify my upcoming videos. And if you really like this video, share it with your friends and buddies, and let me know what they think about it. All right. Well, this has been Todd with All Things Archery and Shooting, and until next time, guys, ciao.